Hi Sugar Snaps, welcome to a new series on the Textile Indie YouTube channel. If you're new here, my name's Brittany, welcome in. If you're an old friend, welcome back, glad to have you. This is slightly different than my tutorial videos. I'm trying to explore some vlog. I have a blog, but this is a vlog and kind of share some of my process in creating and making materials to do stuff. I have recently, I should have known this already, but recently discovered that I really like making materials and have a harder time making a finished product. I like to spin the yarn and then it sits in yarn stash. I like to dye the fabric in the yarn and it sits in the yarn and fabric stash. I got to thinking recently that I wanted to challenge myself to use the yarn that I spin and use the fabric that I'm dyeing, you know, trying to incorporate that more into my creative practice, sewing more for myself, my family and friends, knitting more often, and just pushing my creativity a little bit further from the traditional craft realm to actually using the material that I create. Hence, this video series. This is going to be a several part series, probably 3 or 4. We'll start out by spinning yarn, then we'll dye that yarn, and then I'm going to knit something and push it to a finished product. Come along the journey with me, join me as I make this project. Again, this is not meant to be a tutorial, and if that's what you're looking for, be sure to check out my other videos. I do have spinning and dyeing and knitting tutorials, so you can find those in my channel and on my website textileindie.com. I have a lot of my videos cataloged on my different web pages there. And this is Phoebe. She's my studio friend. I pulled out both of my spinning wheels here. I have represented a traditional Ashford wheel. This style is probably the most familiar spinning wheel shape because it's very similar to the one in Sleeping Beauty. More about that later. And then this guy over here is called a castle wheel. It has a single wheel and a double treadle or 2 foot pedals. So where the wheel is offset from the bobbin on the traditional, the bobbin is right over top of the main drive wheel on the castle spinning wheel. I received this wheel for Christmas or my birthday when I was 10 from my parents. So I've had a lot of hours spinning on it and it's a wonderful wheel, has a lot of great memories. But for today's video, I'm going to be spinning on my Ashford Kiwi, this castle wheel. It's a double treadle. I have just the regular bobbin set up on this guy, regular flyer. Fairly new. I've had it for a little bit less than a year now and done some spinning on it. You can see some other spinning videos I've done here on my channel in the description below if you want to see some more tutorial style videos. Here's the Ashford Kiwi a little bit closer up. You can see down here, these are the treadles. This is the drive wheel. This section is the flyer, and I have the bobbin here in place. And my little hook is right in here. So when you sit at it, you're sitting like this. Let me get my mic out of the way. You're sitting at it like this. You put your feet on these treadles like that, and you start spinning, and it starts treadling away. And here's the Ashford traditional. This is the back side. I'll walk around here and show you the front. So this is the spinner's view right here. I would put my foot on the treadle right there. Oops. The flyer and bobbin that I have set up here is the jumbo setup for this spinning wheel, and you can see a full video series on spinning jumbo yarn on this wheel in the description below. So you would get it pedaling, pedal with your foot like so. And then the flyer spins, the yarn goes through this hole right here called the orifice, slides out, and right here, so I'm holding onto this end, the wool here, and sending it into the spinning wheel bobbin up here as the twist is put into it between the drive wheel and the flyer, and then the drive band causes the twist or the turn. Jordan and I took a short weekend trip out to a straw bale cottage, and super fun, very relaxing. I had time to spin and do some basketry and just enjoy some projects that I hadn't really had time in my daily practice to fit in, and so had some time to do that and listen to the birds and watch the sunrise and the sunset. And it's just a very magical spot on the side of a hillside, without any other houses or anything around. Just very precious moments. The two of us enjoying some reading and time off. We are currently doing a ton of house projects on our 1934 house, and while that's a huge blessing, it also means that the house is very chaotic, and so it was nice to get away and have some beautifully aesthetic place to stay and enjoy just for a bit, so that we could refresh, re-center in on what's important to us, what our values are, and how we want to spend our life hours, what we want to spend them on, the friends and family and things we pursue, people we pursue and love on. It's nice to have those getaway moments, and that's not available to everyone, so I appreciate the privilege when it's open to me. And it also reminded me that there are places close to home that I can go to for an afternoon or an hour or two and take my spinning wheel or a knitting project or a basketry project or whatever, and just take some time away from my home studio, away from my workspace, and just be creative without the distraction of a load of dishes to do or that email I haven't answered yet. Pro tip when you're spinning a full bobbin of yarn: take breaks, go get some coffee or some water, or walk around, put a cushion on your chair if you need to. Your butt's gonna hurt. And I'm gonna go pet the cats and hang out with the chickens for a few minutes. Okay, I'm back. I have completed this bobbin, or at least the amount of wool that I had to fill this bobbin. So I'm going to take it off of the wheel here and switch it out for a new bobbin. This Kiwi has a Lazy Kate built in, so these spots on the bottom here. So I have an empty bobbin I'm gonna load up and then load this onto my wheel. For this yarn, I'm going to do a chain ply. If you want a tutorial on how to chain ply yarn, check out the description below and the video up here. I did a tutorial on how to do that. So I'm gonna get this loaded. Again, my Lazy Kate is down here, and I'm going to 3-ply this because it'll be a nice weight for spinning, or sorry, for knitting. Wolfa, come back. And I have a little tidbit from the last wool. If you have pets, inevitably you're going to end up with pet hair in your yarn. This is Sasha over here. No matter how hard I try, I always end up with a little bit of cat hair in what I'm working on. So I mentioned a while ago at the beginning of this video about Sleeping Beauty, and I just wanted to make a point that this wheel does not look like the wheel in Sleeping Beauty because it's a different style. The wheel in Sleeping Beauty is called a great wheel, and it has the distaff or the pointed bit that she pricked herself on, and that would hold balls of cotton that would then get spun. And that is not what this wheel is. So it looks different. I get that question a lot. Where's the pointy bit that Sleeping Beauty poked herself on? Well, it's a different type of wheel. Also, another thing that I get is people calling spinning wheels a loom. This is a spinning wheel, not a loom. Loom, spinning wheel. Okay, my tension is all sorts of off, so let's get this balanced. Need a good amount here. It's too tight, and so I'm ending up over spinning this. Come on. So a chain ply is similar to crocheting a chain, where you're putting loops, creating loops that connect. You can see my yarn starting to form on here. I'm gonna adjust this guy. And I want to show you Sasha while she's watching me. Spinning is one of those slow crafts that takes a lot of time, but it's very meditative, and when you get into the flow and you're able to move without the stress of having it be new and struggling to pat your head and rub your stomach all at the same time as treadling your feet and balancing all of the different things. The bobbin that I spun previous to this plying took probably about 3.5 to 4 hours total to spin up, and the plying's going to be a lot quicker because I'm not waiting to add the twist as I'm spinning. I can load the bobbin as fast as I can chain ply, basically, which does mean that the amount that you spin on that first bobbin ends up being 1/3 of the length of that first bobbin. So these things are not fast. That's why it's called slow craft. And the benefit of slow craft, I think, is that it allows me to sit and just be with a thing that's repetitive and do something meditative that actually creates something beautiful that I can be creative with. Of course, there are the times where I just want things to move faster, and so I'm sitting here anxiously spinning as fast as I can. But I try to do this in moments where I can sit and really lean into the process. The joy of the journey. Something I love about hand-spun yarn is that there's a lot of variegation in it. Even though I'm trying to keep an even yarn when I spin my singles, I have a tendency to kind of variegate the thickness a bit. And I've noticed that if I'm doing a bobbin multiple times or sitting down at it for an hour here or half hour there, the result ends up being more varied because whatever I sit down with, whether it's more tension or a little more relaxation, or I'm just not warmed up to spinning and I'm getting back into the flow of it, it does affect the thickness and regularity of my yarn, and that shows up when I go to ply, because you end up with some thick and thins in your yarn. And I think that bothers some spinners and some knitters when they're working with the yarn, because you don't necessarily get a super even project or knit. But I love the look of that. I love the slight irregularities, because it reminds me that it's something that I put time in and effort into, and it kind of tells a story of my process and where I was at while I was making it. And this yarn, as I spun a lot of it while we were at the Strawbale Cottage, has a lot of memories from that space, and that's just something special that perfection doesn't always have for me. If I pursue perfection, I tend to stress out and focus on the outcome more than the process. So when I am spinning myself or when I am teaching, try to focus on the process and the enjoyment of the journey, rather than a perfectly spun or perfectly woven or perfectly whatever piece. And if that's not for you, if you are wanting something that's perfect, perfectly even, or perfectly straight, or perfectly balanced, that's totally fine too. I've just come to realize that's not for me. Plying takes a bit more concentration than spinning the single, at least for me, because I find that as I'm chain plying specifically, as I'm pulling the loop through, like here, I'm pulling the yarn from the bobbin through and creating a loop, pulling it through and creating a loop. This process, sometimes the extra twist in my single causes it to catch, and so I'm paying more attention and looking down at what I'm doing way more than I do for a single. I can spend a lot of time looking around and enjoying the environment when I'm spinning a single, because it's all in my fingers. But when I'm plying, I'm making sure to watch what I'm doing and use the memory in my fingers to balance the yarn, just because there's more things going on here. Go on this bobbin. Beautiful. Now I'm going to take this yarn and wind it off onto my Niddy Noddy and then tie it . And there is my Niddy Noddy and my yarn. Now I'm going to tie this off and then soak it in some warm water and with a little bit of power scour to loosen up the twist and open up the fibers. And then it'll be ready to dye. Next week, I'm going to share the process of dyeing my hand spun wool yarn, and then the following week, we'll do a video on knitting it up into something fun. So I have rinsed this out and it's ready to hang dry. I'm going to hang dry it outside. It's a nice sunny day, so it can dry. If I was going to dye this right away, I would just stick it right into a mordanting pot, mordant bath, and start dyeing it, but I'm not going to get to it right away. So I'm going to let this dry so it doesn't mildew. And wool yarn can hold, wool in general, can hold up to 30% of its weight in water without feeling wet. So it takes a long time to dry, and then when I'm ready to dye it, I can re-soak it and start to do the dyeing process. Be sure to check the description below for the videos in this series as they come out. And for other resources, my website, textileindie.com, like I showed you earlier, and other resources here on my YouTube channel and other places. If you enjoyed this video, I'd be grateful if you could hit the like button and maybe even share it with someone that enjoys spinning, natural dyeing, basketry, and other traditional crafts. Thanks for joining me today, and I'll see you in my next video. Until then, happy making. Bye.